someone who's hurting you doesn't care about you or isn't taking an extra second to think about you, don't think about them. Like,
Hi, I'm Natasha.
Hi, I'm Tamia.
I'm Chantel.
And I'm Mina.
Describe a specific instance or a period of time where you were bullied.
So I was bullied a lot throughout like elementary and high school, mainly on appearance. Like I was bullied about my hair, my skin. I went to like a Catholic school, and like predominantly like I was one of the only colored people there. Mm-hmm. So I used to get picked on like a lot, and I wasn't rich or anything. Like, what happened is my friends that I thought were my friends would bully me, and they would try to tell me to change my clothes. They would like bring like hairbrushes to school and try to comb my hair. I had really, really long hair at the time, and it would fall out. Like people tried to make a video about how I was balding, and it was just a lot of stuff. And I found that like it was really hard for me to ever think of myself as somebody that was like pretty or like that looked okay, and it was easier for me to start bullying myself because of that. And I didn't have anybody else who was facing the same situations as me, like as my friends, that I just wasn't able to go to anybody, or I didn't even know what was happening was really wrong.
During that time, did you ever like reach out to get help from?
I never realized that it was bullying, because when schools kind of taught us about bullying and stuff, it was always about being like beat up or like rumors and stuff that like your friends weren't doing to you. It was always like this other mean kid that was like doing it to you, and it was very obvious. So I could never relate to that and be like, oh, the same thing is happening to me, because it was always just the people that I hung out with every day, people that I sat with, like people that I called my friends. So I was like, how could they bully me? So I ended up spending a lot of time by myself, and like I just found like to have friendships and like build relationships became a lot harder for me, because I always expected people to do that to me because my friends did that to me for so long.
was it difficult for you to actually distance yourself? Like, how long
From
did
my
that
friends?
take, and what did that look like?
It took
for you?
forever. I'm actually still friends with some of them, like weirdly enough, but they don't do it anymore, because I don't really think that any of them realized that they were doing it either.
Yeah.
I feel like I was just like a really easy target, and like whatever they were going through like on their ends, I feel like they pushed their insecurities onto me, and I was just kind of like, oh, okay. So yeah, some of them I'm still friends with, but a lot of them I kind of just lost connection with because I stopped talking to them.
My specific instance or experience with bullying, I think the thing that stuck with me more was the repercussions rather than what had happened. I was born in Mississauga, and I left when I was 10, and we moved to my parents and I moved to Barbados. So when I went to school, I didn't have a Bayesian accent. Obviously, I didn't sound the same. The things I wore weren't the same. It was just stark difference, even though I guess looked like most people on the island. And what had happened was just no one spoke to me, or people had made fun of how I sounded. And at first it was like, okay, well, you're the new kid, like that happens, and then it wouldn't stop, and then it happened from teachers, and then it happened from like the principals and whatnot. So the repercussion of that was that I never spoke for about a month when I went to school, and kids used to think I was mute or thought I was deaf, and so I just refused to speak because I thought I was going to get ridiculed for it, and they started affecting how I performed academically as well, because obviously if you're not speaking, then and no one knows, and nothing's going to progress out of it. And yeah, I think that was just the main thing that stuck, and I started becoming sick at the thought of going to school. So when I'd get dropped off in the morning, I'd go to the bathroom at school and I'd throw up, and then I'd go to class and be like, okay, well, now I got it out of my system, so I can get on with this day of not talking to anybody. So I think that was my big experience. It was more the repercussions of what happened and being isolated in a place that I thought was home. Yeah, so I guess it wasn't really the people that stuck with me. It was more what I did to myself based on what I thought was happening.
I think similar-ish to both. I didn't know bullying was like verbal or mental. It was more so like physical things, or just pointing out how someone looks like. So similar to that, it was also in middle school where that had happened, and anyone who knows me now knows I'm really encouraging and supportive and things like that. But at that time, it was being encouraging and supporting to the wrong people and not realizing that was unhealthy. So having something like curly hair that wasn't straight, that was ugly, so I thought it was ugly. having hips and thighs and just looking different. I was also ridiculed for that. I felt really uncomfortable wearing whatever I wanted to wear, and that actually passed basically all the way through high school. I always thought if I'm going to wear something, I'm doing it because of attention, because at that point in time, I wasn't wearing, let's say, yoga pants or sweatpants to be like, ooh, look at me. It was more so like, we have gym class or we have dance class, so, you know, so it's like everything that I was doing, I felt very self-conscious about it, and I was picked on constantly. More so on the mental side, it's if a situation were to happen, I was actually the one to apologize for it rather than the other way around. So I learned to dismiss myself and to accept things that were happening to me. And I actually had talked to someone at school, and it was more so like, oh, just deal with it, you know, like they're kids, doesn't really matter. And I ended up spending a lot of lunches by myself, and doing lunches by myself and things like that. I learned that I liked so many other things. So whenever I'd get involved in school and the friends found out, it was more so discouraging your talents and your abilities and things like that. So that at that point I was also taking a step back from trying to get myself involved in other things, because I was like, oh, if they don't approve of it, then I can't. I'm trying to please these people. And it was constantly like someone putting you up for 2 minutes and then bringing you back down. And it was happening to other people at school from the same few friends. At that point, no one really saw it as bullying. So it's very difficult when you sit back and you let things happen to you. I learned to step up for other people. So, yeah.
And so now a bit different. I firstly want to pose a question to you, Chantel. What made someone like a target for you? Why did you bully them specifically?
I've never thought about that, just as like off the jump, so whatever I say is like off top. This was in middle school, like grade 7. This was like almost 10 years ago. And then I just remember like the day it started. Like for me, it was easy. I just like went to the front of the class. It was, I don't know, English or whatever. Teacher was doing whatever. I went to the front of the class. We have a bunch of dictionaries and like thesauruses there. I took a thesaurus. I looked up stupid and I found a synonym for it. And I was like, I'm going to call you this word for the rest of the year, or however long. And then I thought it was hilarious. Like, I thought it was like funny as hell. And so did my best friend at the time. And I just kept doing that. It never seemed to bother her to me, because I wasn't paying attention to her feelings clearly. My friend, this time he was talking to her, and he went along the same lines as me. We knew what she liked. We knew what she wanted to do in the future as a career. And so what ended up happening was he found out what she wanted to do and said, you're not going to end up doing that. You're like too dumb for that. You're going to work at like as a cashier, like McDonald's. We kept poking, and that was like when she cracked. She ran out of the classroom. She started crying. I was like, wow, I'm about to face the consequences. But like, I don't know if I'm gonna face the consequences, but I know he is gonna face the consequences. And then my name gets called out, or the French teacher comes back and says, Chantel, you gotta go head to the office. So then I'm sitting in the office with my friend and the girl who we were bullying, and the questions that my principal started with were, how long has it been going on? And I'm like, wow, okay. This is like taking a step outside of it and looking at it like objectively, like when did it start? Okay, this was like in December, we were in now March, and she's like, why did you do it? And I just said to her at the time, like, I don't know, because I was just shaking at that point. I was scared.
So prior to that, did the girl ever call you out on it? Like, did she ever tell you like stop?
Never, no.
So did you ever feel like you were doing something bad?
Never, no. Like, never. Not until that moment.
So you just thought you were, like, making a joke?
Yeah.
See, so that's one of the reasons why I got this topic in mind, because I found that, you know, like, even when we laugh at things, that is encouraging bullying. And that's when it came to mind for me, because I was just, like, I randomly had this thought one day, and it was like, oh, does that make me a bully, too? Because I just sit there and I laugh, and the person's ridiculed not just because the comments made, it's because of how the people around react to it, right? Throwing the question out to you guys as a group, what did you do to like get over it? Like, was it time? Most of you didn't like reach out for help. I didn't ask you, Mina, but did you?
Yeah, so unlike her situation, when I did reach out for help, at least like from school, it was disregarded. It was more so like, you need to accommodate to their feelings, so you need to have lunches alone, or sit on the other side of the class, or just try to make new friends. But it wasn't it wasn't addressed as a class. There's only 2 classes of kids our age, so it's not hard to bring them together and have a conversation about this. So the fact that it was known to the teachers, it was just
So then I would imagine that you each just got over it on your own. Yeah.
Yeah,
More
in
or
different
less.
ways.
Yeah.
For me, it was like mostly like time, and like you kind of get to like have more experiences and see what happened to you, and like kind of grow from there. But like I never really took the time to be like, oh, I was bullied, and like how am I gonna get from this? I think it just happened, and like when I look back, I'm like, yes, that definitely happened. I definitely grew from it, but like it wasn't conscious. If that makes sense.
I think for myself, it was, getting over it on my own, but there's more that fed into this end result. Obviously, it wasn't just that experience. There's a lot more that fed into it, but I had more of a wake-up call scenario. I made a suicide attempt, and it was, like, that was really, really scary. And it, like, that was the first time I saw it affect my parents, and I was like, should probably try and, like, deal with this now. So I think that was when I was like, you gotta tackle this and nip it in the butt however you can, and like not let it get to that point again. So I think that's what.
And so to now throw this question out to all of you, like being bullied and having bullied, how did that shape the way that you are now?
I think it was twofold. I think it made me just a stronger person in terms of how I think of myself and just tackling each day with a better mindset. But the other side of that would be, it made me open my eyes and be more accepting of other people, because when you're being bullied, you don't, well, personally, I didn't look at anybody else's situation. I was like, this is all happening to me, so I just festered within myself. And I think that when I had that turning point, it was like, this isn't only me. Like, I was bullied, yes, but then it's like, oh, you're also being bullied as well, and it's how can I accept you or show you love in that way. So I think it was personal strength that increased, obviously with a lot of time, but also being able to be more accepting of people even that you don't know, just to make sure that you're putting love out there that you didn't feel.
I think it made me realize that I needed to open up about people, and not make excuses for them. That's, I think, one of my biggest weaknesses, until like recently, really. So it was opening up about people who you thought were your friends, and you're gonna tell your parents or your siblings or whoever you're close with that this person is hurting me, this person did something wrong, and not just letting it pass or just being okay with whatever situation that you're in. I think that was definitely one of the biggest lessons for me.
Question to you specifically, Chantel, like, so at that turning point, because in general, like, you're not like a mean person.
Yeah.
So
Not at all.
then going forward, what was the change in like how you behave? Because especially since you said you only did that to one person, what did that situation even teach you? Like after getting in trouble and all of that?
Everything. Like, before that, I was just like a shit disturber. Like, I kind of just like took that opportunity to reflect on like, have I done this to other people? Have I just like, and then I kind of realized I definitely don't think I was bullying anybody else, but I just found it fun to like pick and prod and like poke at people, like just unnecessarily. And then I took a step back and realized I'm just thinking about myself in this. I haven't thought about anybody else. Even when I went to high school, like because that was like grade 7. So when I finished like middle school and then entered high school, I was like, I can't do that again. Like I have to think about my words more than anything, and I think about everybody's words more than anything now. Like even the program I'm in, it's like words. Like that changed how I look about everything. It changed how I talk to people. It changed how I listen to people, and it changed also how I like kind of just sit back and watch. Like if you guys are like in a room talking, like I'll probably just most of the time just kind of like sit and watch.
To now bring the conversation to a close, what realistic advice would you give to someone going through that?
I think if we're being realistic, you can tell someone to wake up every day and try to be strong, but the more you get battered when you go outside your home, it's hard to combat that. Honestly, I don't even know what advice I'd give to my younger self. Obviously, it's time, but you're not required to every day be the strong person, because that doesn't happen to anybody. No one's going to wake up every single day and be strong. So I think you just got to recognize when you need to take your time and be alone with yourself, and then also make sure that you find your time where you feel, oh, I feel a little bit stronger today. Maybe I can do this. Maybe I can make a change. And over time, hopefully, that helps the situation.
For me, I would say I wish something like what someone had done with Chantel, like sitting her down and talking to her, would have happened in my case, because it was from multiple people. So if you are strong enough or need maybe a little bit more support and courage from family or a cousin or whoever it is to do that, I would 100% say, if you can, try that. And depending on the severity of it, if it's like comments and things like that, I always now, in depending on the situation, I always try to say, if someone who's hurting you doesn't care about you or isn't taking an extra second to think about you, don't think about them. Like, it's not tailing, it's not any of that. It's you making sure you're protecting yourself first, rather than, you know, calling someone out. Like, if they need to learn a lesson, they need to learn a lesson. Like, that's it. Like, it's not, there's no excuse for it. And if they're dealing with something, then maybe they're actually going to get the help rather than them dealing through whatever it is and, you know, no teacher, no whoever knows about